She thought funerals were about strangers until one corpse knew her name, her past, and why her Korean family lied. Amara moves through the funeral home at 4 a.m., her gloved hands steady as she arranges white chrysanthemums around an elderly woman's face, each petal positioned with the precision of someone who's learned that perfection is survival. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting everything in cold blue that drains warmth from living skin and dead alike. She works alone, always alone, in the back rooms where souls dead wait to be dressed, displayed, mourned by people who will never know their names were misspelled or their makeup was wrong. Her shoulders stay level, her breathing measured, her expression blank as porcelain. The mask she's worn so long it's fused to bone. She's good at this, being invisible, being necessary without being noticed. The prep room door swings open with a hydraulic hiss. A gurney rolls in, wheels squeaking against tile, accompanied by two attendants who avoid her eyes like she's contagious. The body bag is sealed with red tape, the kind used when paperwork is incomplete or identity is contested. Institutional light catches the plastic surface, turning it almost translucent, revealing the shape beneath but not the person. Morning delivery, one mutters, dropping a file on the metal table where it lands with a hollow slap. Rush job. Amara nods. She doesn't ask questions. Questions make you memorable, and memorable makes you vulnerable. The door closes with a pneumatic sigh. She's alone with the sealed bag and a file she's been trained not to read too carefully. Her fingers already reaching for the zipper before her mind can intervene. She tells herself funerals are about closure, about dignity, about letting strangers leave the world cleaner than they entered it. She's prepared hundreds of bodies, Korean, Chinese, Filipino, Vietnamese. She's learned to see only the work, never the life. Her hands move through ritual. Unzip, assess, catalog. Muscle memory protecting her from empathy. But some names refuse to stay buried. Her fingers freeze on the file edge, knuckles whitening against the manila folder. Cold fluorescent shifts to warm amber as she opens it. Or maybe that's just her vision tunneling, blood rushing from her face to somewhere deep and protective. The file slips from her grip, papers scattering, one corner catching the light as it falls. Then, she read the name they told her not to look at. The name on the file is written in careful Hangul with English underneath. Joseph Kamau Ochieng. Attached is a faded photocopy of a passport from 1997. The face is younger, hopeful, wearing a shirt she remembers folding. The blue one with the frayed collar, the one that smelled like construction dust, and the cardboard factory where he worked double shifts. Her breath catches audibly in the empty room. Amara's hands shake as she picks up the file, fingers spreading the papers, like cards she's trying to read in failing light. The date of death is 4 days ago. Cause, cardiac arrest. Location, a migrant shelter in Buchan. No next of kin listed. No one claimed him. Each word is a small violence, clinical language carving out the shape of abandonment. She should report this immediately. Protocol demands it. Misuk's voice echoes in her head, sharp, controlled, absolute. We handle bodies, not histories. Her jaw clenches so hard her teeth ache, but her face stays smooth, professional, empty. The mask holds even when she's alone. Instead, she begins the prep work. Unzipping the bag, the sound too loud in the silence, like tearing fabric, like rupture. Checking the toe tag with fingers that refuse to steady. Arranging the instruments she'll need with mechanical precision. Each tool placed in exact parallel lines. Order imposed on chaos that's already inside her chest. The door opens again without warning, no knock, no announcement, just sudden intrusion. Daniel Okoye stands in the threshold, a worn leather jacket over his shirt, documents tucked under one arm. He's been volunteering with migrant rights groups for years, occasionally coordinating with the funeral home when unclaimed bodies need dignity burials. Shadows deepen between them as he crosses into the room. He looks at the body, sheet half pulled back. Then at her. His expression shifts, concern replacing his usual tired professionalism. Eyes narrowing as he reads something in her stillness that shouldn't be there. Amara, he says quietly, voice careful as handling glass. You know him? She doesn't answer. Can't answer. Her throat is closed, her tongue stuck to the roof of her mouth. She grips the edge of the table, metal cold even through latex gloves, grounding herself before she floats away. You know him, Daniel repeats, stepping closer, floorboards creaking under his weight. Don't you? She stares at the body. Her jaw works, but no sound comes. I know my job, she finally says, voice flat as electrocardiogram flatline. That's not what I asked. The file says no next of kin. The file is lying. His thumb rubs over old scars on his hand, nervous habit, protective gesture. And you know it is. Distant traffic filters through sealed windows, muffled and rhythmic like a heartbeat that isn't hers. She wants to run. She wants to scream. She does neither, just stands there. Professional, appropriate, dying inside where no one has to see. He didn't ask who the body was. He asked who it was to me. Amara forces herself to continue. She cleanses the body with ritual care. Warm water from the stainless steel basin, mild soap that smells antiseptic and wrong. Movements she's performed 1,000 times now weighted with meaning they were never supposed to carry. Her breathing is controlled, counted. 4 in, hold, 4 out. Professional. Then she sees it. A scar on his left forearm, pale against dark skin. Shaped like a crescent moon. She remembers the kitchen knife she wasn't supposed to touch, the blood on the floor spreading too fast. Her 6-year-old panic turning her voice into animal sounds. She remembers him laughing through the pain, actually laughing, like her terror was something small and manageable, wrapping his arm in a dish towel, red blooming through white cotton, telling her in Swahili that brave girls don't cry when accidents happen. Usijali, Amara. Hakuna kitu. Don't worry, Amara. It's nothing. The room tilts. Walls pressing in, or maybe she's falling backward without moving. She grips the edge of the prep table, metal cold against her palms, even through the gloves. Anchor against vertigo. The fluorescent lights buzz louder, or maybe that's just the blood rushing in her ears, pressure building behind her eyes, until her vision sparks at the edges. This is her father, the man who vanished when she was 6, the man her Korean relatives said chose not to stay. Said it so many times it became truth, became her origin story, became the reason she learned to make herself small and quiet and grateful. The man whose absence taught her that love is conditional and belonging is earned through silence, and she was never quite enough to make him stay. He's been dead for 4 days, and she's been washing his body like a stranger. Harsh overhead light creates stark shadows that turn his face into geography she no longer recognizes. She staggers back, catches herself on the supply cart, instruments rattling like accusation. Her hands come up to her face, but the gloves are still on, still contaminated. So she can't even touch herself for comfort. The dead don't speak, but they remember. Every scar is a sentence. Every mark is a story someone decided not to tell. She's spent 23 years working with bodies that hold secrets, never knowing she was preparing for this one. Never knowing silence was rehearsal for this exact moment when truth would arrive on a gurney and demand recognition. She pulls the white sheet over his face with trembling hands, fabric settling like snow, like forgetting, like all the lies she's been told. She realized the dead man knew her name before she did. The door opens. Mi-suk enters with the posture of someone who owns every room she walks into. Spine straight as rebar, chin level, steps measured and deliberate like she's being photographed. Her hanbok-inspired coat is perfectly pressed. Dove gray with subtle embroidery, her expression pleasantly neutral, in that way that takes years to perfect. Soft light seems to follow her, or maybe she just knows how to stand where shadows flatter. How is the preparation going? Amara straightens, smoothing her expression into the mask she's worn for years. The one that says, competent, grateful, no trouble at all. Her hands clasp in front of her, professional supplicant. On schedule, Aunt Mi-suk. Good. Mi-suk approaches the covered body, heels clicking against tile in perfect rhythm. She doesn't lift the sheet, doesn't even look at it directly, just acknowledges its presence the way you'd note furniture. This one is scheduled for cremation tomorrow morning. The city is handling the costs. Simple. Clean. There's a pause. Misuk's gaze settles on Amara with something that might be approval. Warm light catching her eyes, making them almost kind. You've been doing excellent work lately, Amara. Very professional, very proper. The word proper hangs between them like a promise, like a condition, like the distance between where she is and where she's allowed to be. Warmth blooms in Amara's chest despite everything. Pathetic, desperate warmth that she hates herself for feeling. This is what she's wanted. Recognition, acceptance. To be called family without the silent, but that always follows, without the asterisk, without the qualification. The family has noticed, Misuk continues, and her hand touches Amara's shoulder briefly. Maternal, possessive, gentle as a leash. No complications with this case? None. No unnecessary questions? No, Aunt Misuk. That's my girl. Amara's conflicted expression fights itself. Hope versus guilt, belonging versus truth, 23 years of training versus 4 days of death. She almost smiles back. Almost believes it. All she had to do was finish the job. Amara is restocking embalming fluid when Daniel appears, in the supply room doorway, his silhouette blocking the light from the hall. The space is narrow, lined with metal shelves holding chemicals and tools. Formaldehyde, methanol, cavity fluid in uniform bottles that smell like preservation and denial. There's nowhere to retreat. The shelves pressing close on both sides, fluorescent tube overhead flickering once, twice, threatening to fail. I need to tell you something about Joseph Kamau, his voice low, urgent, each word deliberate as placing stones before it's too late. She keeps her back to him, shoulders tensing, organizing bottles with unnecessary precision. Alphabetical, then by size, then by date. Anything to keep her hands busy and her face hidden. I don't know who that is. The lie tastes chemical. Yes, you do. Daniel steps inside, closes the door. Soft click that sounds like a lock even though it isn't. Single bare bulb swings slightly from the door's movement, casting moving shadows that make the walls breathe. I was there, Amara. 23 years ago, I was working with an advocacy group helping migrant workers navigate immigration proceedings. Your father came to us desperate, said his daughter's family was using every connection to get him deported. Amara's hands still on the shelf, one bottle suspended between order and chaos. He loved you, Daniel continues, stepping closer but not crowding, respecting space she needs even as he destroys the walls she's built. He fought for years. Lawyers, appeals. He sold everything. His motorcycle, his tools, clothes off his back. But families like yours have reach, and men like him have nothing. His voice cracks on the last word. Footsteps pass in the hallway outside, someone laughing, oblivious, alive. She turns slowly, every muscle resisting, face finally revealed in harsh light that forgives nothing. Why are you telling me this? Because the cremation is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 7. Once he's ash, every record disappears. Every question becomes impossible to answer. Daniel's eyes are intense, pleading, tired from years of fighting battles he mostly loses. His hands spread empty, offering nothing but terrible truth. You have maybe 12 hours to delay the process, to request an investigation, to ask why a man who spent decades trying to reach his daughter ended up dead and unclaimed in a shelter 2 kilometers from where she works. I can't stop a city-mandated cremation, she says, voice barely above whisper, backing slightly into shelving that rattles behind her. You can delay it, one phone call, and lose everything I've built here. Her throat closes around the words. What have you built? His voice is gentle, devastating. Permission to exist in their margins? She has no answer. The bulb swings. Shadows chase each other across their faces. And somewhere a clock is ticking down to smoke and silence. Once he's ash, no one can lie for him anymore. 3 a.m. The funeral home is silent except for the industrial hum of refrigeration units. Low, constant, the sound of preservation and delay. Amara stands alone in the prep room, staring at the covered body, harsh fluorescence draining color from everything, until the world is shades of gray and blue. She's spent hours trying to convince herself Daniel is wrong, that her father chose to leave, that her family wouldn't deliberately destroy a man's life, that belonging is worth the price of silence. Each rationalization dissolves like sugar in water, sweetness leaving only bitter residue. But she keeps seeing that scar, hearing his laugh, remembering the way he called her mpenzi, beloved, precious, chosen, in a voice that made it sound like truth. Her hands move before her mind catches up. She peels off her latex gloves, breaking the first rule of funeral preparation, the snap of latex like small bones breaking. Bare skin should never touch the dead. Contamination, protocol, professionalism. All the rules designed to maintain distance between living and lost. The gloves fall to the floor, pale and empty as shed skin. She doesn't care. Her palm presses against his cold hand, and the shock of it travels up her arm like electricity. Temperature and absence and flesh that was warm once, animated once, held her once. His fingers are long, elegant, frozen in a slight curl like he died reaching for something. She remembers these hands braiding her hair with clumsy patience, cooking chapati that always burned on one side, signing documents he couldn't read but trusted anyway, because trust was all he had left. "I'm sorry," she whispers in English, then Swahili, then Korean. 3 languages for 3 versions of herself. None of them whole, all of them breaking. "I'm so sorry." Her voice cracks. Tears don't fall. She's too good at control for that. But her face contorts with the effort of holding them back. This is the moment. The choice that splits her life into before and after. The axis around which everything will turn. She could still report the identification, trigger an investigation, demand truth, force light into corners that have been dark for decades. Or she could do what she's always done. Stay small, stay quiet, stay safe in the spaces they allow her to occupy. Spaces measured precisely to her diminished shape. The cremation schedule is posted by the door, white paper against cream wall, black text marching in orderly rows. 7 a.m., 4 hours, 240 minutes, 14,400 seconds. Time measured in heartbeats, she is left to decide. She pulls the sheet back over his face, fabric settling with terrible finality. Puts her gloves back on. Snap, snap, barrier restored. Writes nothing in the logbook, the blank space screaming louder than words ever could. She chooses silence. She chose silence, and the clock started counting down. The private dining room above the funeral home is warm with yellow light, and the smell of galbi and kimchi jjigae. Garlic, ginger, fermented heat that usually means comfort, family, belonging. The family gathers here monthly, Misuk's ritual of unity and control, tradition wielded like tool and weapon. Warm, golden tones wash over everything, intimate and familial, the kind of light that makes people look softer, kinder, closer than they are. Tonight, Amara is seated closer to the center of the table than usual. Not at the far end with the younger cousins, where she's spent years, but near Misuk herself, only 2 seats removed from the head. The shift is subtle, but unmistakable. Geography as communication, proximity as reward. Amara handled a difficult case with remarkable professionalism, Misuk announces, pouring soju into Amara's glass. The bottle tilted at the respectful angle, 2 hands supporting it, a gesture of respect usually reserved for blood relatives and honored elders. The liquid catches light, clear as truth should be, deceptive as truth never is. The city officials specifically mentioned her discretion. Warmth floods through Amara's chest, pathetic, desperate, real. Around the table, aunts and uncles nod approvingly, faces blurred by steam from soup, made generous by alcohol and satisfaction. Her cousin Jihai actually smiles at her, not the tight political smile, but something almost genuine, almost welcome. For the first time in her life, she feels like she's sitting inside the circle instead of watching it from outside. nose pressed to glass, breath fogging the barrier between them and her. Jamin sits across from her, expensive designer glasses reflecting candlelight in precise points, his face divided by shadow and flame. He raises his glass with deliberate ceremony. To family, he says, looking directly at her, holding her gaze like she's finally worth seeing. And to knowing where we belong. They drink. The soju burns her throat. Clean fire, purification, erasure. But she welcomes it, tilts her head back for more. This is what she's worked for. This is what 23 years of silence has purchased. This is the price and the prize. And she's finally paid enough. We take care of our own, Amara, Misuk says. Maternal and absolute. Always have. Thank you, Aunt Misuk, for everything. You've earned your place here, Jihi adds, chopsticks pausing over Banshan, actually meaning it. Some people never learn that, Jamin says, adjusting his glasses, small gesture, habitual, but his eyes are calculating behind the reflection. You did. Laughter, clinking glasses, traditional music playing softly from a speaker somewhere. Gaiagium strings weaving melody around conversation. She drinks again, eats, laughs when they laugh, belongs. Belonging always arrives right before it's tested. After dinner, Jamin catches Amara alone near the stairs, where the warm light fades to cooler shadows, the transition from family space to functional space marked by temperature and tone. He's scrolling through his phone with the casual confidence of someone who knows things before others do, thumb moving in precise swipes, screen light washing his face in blue-white glow. Oh, interesting, he says lightly, voice carefully modulated between concern and casual, the tone of someone delivering news that isn't really news. I saw a notice today. Immigration audit coming to the funeral home next week. Amara's stomach drops. Actual physical sensation, organs rearranging, blood draining to her feet. What? Just routine. Someone flagged an irregularity, something about a deceased migrant's paperwork not matching city records. He adjusts his glasses, still not looking at her, performing indifference. I actually reported it myself. Better we catch these things internally than let outsiders find them, right? Her throat tightens, air becoming scarce, words becoming impossible. You reported it? Of course. It's my job to protect the family business. Now he looks up, smiling, professional, appropriate, empty. Don't worry. As long as the case is handled cleanly, cremation completed, no complications, the audit will find nothing. Misuk says, you've been handling it perfectly. He's talking about her father. He's talking about destroying evidence. He's talking about murder by bureaucracy like it's quality control, like it's protecting assets, like it's normal and she's strange for feeling the world tilt beneath her feet. When did you report this? 3 days ago. Why? 3 days, that's before. Her mind calculates. 3 days ago, the body hadn't arrived yet, which means he knew, which means they planned, which means before what? Amara, you look pale. Are you all right? He smiled like he'd done her a favor. Amara follows Jamin back into the dining room, where Misuk is serving fruit with surgical precision. Pears sliced into perfect crescents, apple cut in geometric patterns, everything beautiful and controlled and bleeding slightly where the knife went through. The words burst out before she can stop them, rising like vomit, like truth. You knew who he was, before the body even arrived. You knew. The room goes silent, conversation dying mid-syllable, chopsticks freezing mid-reach, every head turning toward her in synchronized shock. Misuk's knife pauses over a pear, blade catching light, edge visible and sharp. Warm family glow shatters into harsh overhead fluorescence. Protective ambiance destroyed by sudden exposure. Amara, Misuk says carefully, each word placed with precision of someone diffusing explosive. This isn't the time. My father. Joseph Kamau. That's who the body is? That's who you're cremating tomorrow. Her voice cracks, control fracturing, years of training failing in seconds. You knew. You've always known. Jamin sighs, long-suffering, reasonable. The sound of patience wearing thin. See, this is exactly why I flagged it for review. Personal attachment compromises. Personal? Amara laughs, sharp and bitter. Sound like breaking glass. He's been missing for 23 years, and he died alone in a shelter. And you, she turns to Misuk, body pivoting with accusation. You told me he abandoned us. You said he chose to leave. Misuk sets down the knife with careful precision, blade clicking against porcelain, fruit juice pooling red around steel. When she speaks, her voice is cold. Not angry, something worse than angry, something absolute. She stands, commanding the room, light falling on her like coronation, like judgment. He was given choices. He made his. We made ours. For the family. For you. Her hand gestures encompassing room, dinner, everything. You have been given opportunities most in your position never receive. Education, work, respect. Do not throw that away for a man who couldn't provide any of those things. He couldn't because you... enough. The word cuts like steel, like finality, like the door closing on argument. You will finish the preparation. The cremation proceeds as scheduled. And you will remember what gratitude looks like. Silverware clatters, someone's chopsticks falling, small sound enormous in sudden silence. That's when she knew they would never choose her. 2 hours later, there's a soft knock on Amara's door. Knuckles against wood, polite but insistent, the sound of authority asking permission it doesn't need. She's been sitting in her small room above the funeral home, staring at her phone, Daniel's number pulled up but not dialed, thumb hovering over the call button like prayer, like indecision, like cowardice, wearing the face of caution. Misuk enters without waiting for permission. Door opening with confident push, space invaded with maternal presumption. She carries a wooden box, lacquered, antique, the kind used for family heirlooms, birth certificates, marriage contracts, things that matter. Soft lamplight bathes them both, intimate and seductive, making this feel like conspiracy, like gift, like love. I was harsh earlier, Misuk says, sitting on the edge of the bed with careful grace, weight distributed precisely so, the mattress barely depresses. You surprised me. But I understand. Loss makes us emotional. The word emotional carries judgment wrapped in sympathy, dismissal dressed as comprehension. She opens the box. Inside are documents, immigration papers, bank statements, official stamps and seals, a Korean citizenship application with Amara's name, typed in perfect Hangul. Real, legal, everything. Your mother wanted this for you before she died. Full citizenship, full family rights. I've been holding it, waiting for the right time. Misuk's hand covers Amara's warm skin, gentle pressure, maternal and possessive, and perfectly calibrated. This can be processed next week. You'll never be questioned again. Never be other. You'll be Han Amara, fully and legally. My niece, our family. The papers feel heavy. Real. Everything she's wanted since she was 6 years old, since she learned that belonging is conditional, and identity is negotiable, and love is something you earn by erasing parts of yourself, until the acceptable parts fit the shape they've made for you. All I ask, Misuk continues softly, voice like silk over stone, is that you let tomorrow happen quietly. Let him rest. Let us move forward. Family protects family, Amara. That's what we do. You're offering me citizenship for silence. I'm offering you belonging, what you've always deserved. And my father? Your father made his choices. Now you make yours. Choose family. Choose us. Paper rustles between them. Distant soul traffic hums through windows. City that never notices, never cares. Never stops long enough to witness small tragedies in back rooms. The lamp flickers once. The documents wait. She spoke like this was mercy. Amara meets Daniel at an all-night cafe 3 blocks from the funeral home. Fluorescent lights harsh and unforgiving, plastic chairs bolted to the floor, the kind of place that exists for insomniacs and people hiding from decisions. He spreads documents across the table. Immigration files, police reports, letters written in desperate English, handwriting deteriorating over years from hope to despair. The papers form archaeology of erasure, layers of denial pressed into official letterhead. I've been gathering this for years, Daniel says, thumb rubbing over old scars on his hand. Burn marks from detention center kitchen where he worked before advocacy saved him. Not just for your father, for dozens of cases like his. The papers tell a story. Joseph Kamau Ochieng filed for visa extension in 1997. Denied. Filed for appeal based on his daughter's residence. Denied. Applied for humanitarian consideration. Denied, with a note from the local immigration office citing family recommendation against approval. Each denial stamped in red, official bureaucratic violence, dressed as procedure. Amara's hands shake as she reads, papers rustling like accusations, like evidence, like truth she's spent 23 years not looking at. There's a letter from Mi-suk to immigration officials, written on funeral home letterhead. Professional, formal, devastating in its clerical precision. The child's welfare is best served by stable family environment. The father's presence creates cultural and social complications. We respectfully request denial of extension and expedited departure. The signature is unmistakable. Mi-suk's perfect calligraphy, beautiful as anything that destroys you. Dated 3 weeks after her 6th birthday. 3 weeks after the last time she saw him. 3 weeks after he promised to come back, and she believed him because children believe everything until they learn not to. He tried for 15 years, Daniel says quietly, voice heavy with accumulated grief. Not just hers, not just her father's, but hundreds of stories that end in shelters and unmarked graves and silence, appeals, lawyers he couldn't afford. He worked 3 jobs to pay for hearings, construction, delivery, night cleaning. Sent money to advocacy groups. Then, the trail goes cold around 2012. I think they threatened him, made him believe staying away was protecting you. The cafe spins, walls tilting, floor unreliable, gravity negotiable. Every memory recalibrates. Every time Mi-suk praised her professionalism. Every time she was told to be grateful. Every time she convinced herself a belonging was close. If she just stayed quiet enough, small enough, grateful enough. It was never about earning acceptance. It was about erasing her father. And she almost helped them finish the job. They destroyed him. They tried. But he never stopped looking for you. Every year, same shelter, hoping you'd find him. Daniel's eyes are wet. He holds his head, documents scattered before her like evidence, like accusation, like unbearable proof. And I'm preparing his body, like he's nobody. The cremation is in 3 hours. If you do nothing, he disappears. If you speak, I lose everything. You lose everything fake. But you get to keep something real. His hand reaches across the table, stops short of touching, offering, not demanding. Cafe noise fades until only her breathing remains. Ragged, audible, the sound of a person coming apart and maybe, possibly, beginning to reform into something that can survive truth. They didn't lose him. They erased him. Amara returns to the funeral home at 5:30 a.m., pre-dawn gray, cold, and impersonal. The hour when the city is suspended between night and day, between sleep and waking, between who you were and who you're about to become. The building is quiet except for the mechanical sounds of preparation, refrigeration units humming, crematorium firing up, furnace heating to operational temperature with sound like breathing, like hunger, like inevitability. She finds the updated schedule posted in the hallway. White paper against cream wall, new information replacing old. The cremation has been moved up from 7 a.m. to 6 a.m., 30 minutes from now, 1800 seconds. Time measured in heartbeats that are running out. Below it, a new notice printed in official font. Immigration Compliance Inspection. Today, 9 a.m. All documentation must be finalized prior. The timing is surgical, precise, inevitable. Cremation before inspection. Evidence destroyed before questions can be asked. Witness eliminated before testimony becomes possible. They've accelerated everything, compressed time into weapon, turned schedule into execution. Her phone buzzes, vibration against her hip like electric shock. Misuk's text is brief, clean, offering everything. The citizenship papers are in my office. Sign them after the cremation. Welcome home. Jamin appears at the end of the hall, coffee in hand, phone in the other, watching her read the schedule with expression of someone monitoring expected outcomes. Early start today, he says pleasantly, sipping coffee, steam rising in delicate spiral. Best to get ahead of complications. You moved the time. We moved the time. Family decision. You understand? He adjusts his glasses, small gesture, habitual, justifying bad decisions before they're questioned. And if I don't, then you never really wanted to belong here. Pause. Sip. Smile. Did you? Clock ticking becomes audible. Crematorium firing up with sound like roaring, like consumption, like the sound silence makes when it's about to end. She stands frozen. Jamin blocks the exit. Time collapses into single point of decision that's arriving whether she's ready or not. By morning, he would be smoke or a scandal. Amara stands in the prep room one last time, her father's body between her and the crematorium door. Geography as metaphor. Choice as physical space she must cross or refuse. The furnace hums, heating to operational temperature, 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to reduce bone to ash, memory to nothing. Dawn breaks through high windows in shafts of golden light. Harsh, exposing the kind of light that makes lying impossible. She pulls out her phone, opens the voice memo app with thumb that trembles once then steadies. Muscle memory of control finally serving truth instead of denial. My name is Amara June, she begins, voice steady, despite trembling hands, despite world ending, despite everything. My father's name was Joseph Kamau Ochieng. He was born in Nairobi in 1968. He came to Korea in 1993 to work construction. He met my mother in 1995. I was born in 1996. She keeps talking. Names. Dates. The scar on his arm, crescent moon, kitchen knife, brave girls don't cry. The way he smelled like cardboard and hope, construction dust and cheap soap and something underneath that was just him, just father, just love. She didn't have words for yet. How he sang to her in Swahili, songs she's forgotten the words to, but remembers the melody, the vibration of his chest when she pressed her ear against it. How he disappeared when she was 6, and she spent 23 years, believing he chose to leave, chose not to fight, chose everything over her. He didn't leave. He was erased by people who decided his love was worth less than their reputation. The recording reaches 5 minutes, then 10. She recites everything Daniel showed her. Every document, every denial, every letter her father wrote that never reached her, words dissolving into bureaucracy, love transformed into paperwork, person reduced to case number and problem to be managed. This is her inheritance, not citizenship papers or family approval, not a place at the table or permission to exist in their margins, but truth. The sound of her father's name spoken aloud after decades of silence. Proof that he lived, that he mattered, that she comes from love, not shame, that her existence is not compromise or complication, but continuation of something real and wanted, and deliberately destroyed. If she speaks, she loses everything. If she stays silent, she loses herself. Her voice becomes clear over crematorium machinery. No longer whispering, no longer apologizing, no longer making herself small enough to fit spaces that were never meant to hold her whole. She stands straighter with each word spoken, shoulders back, chin up, body remembering what it feels like to take up space without permission. If I spoke, I would lose everything. The prep room door opens. No knock, no warning, just intrusion. Mi-suk enters in full business attire, the citizenship papers in her hand like contract, like leash, like everything Amara has ever wanted wielded as weapon. Sunrise through windows creates stark silhouettes, turning them both into shapes instead of people. Shadows negotiating in light that's too bright to hide in. Don't do this, Mi-suk says quietly. Voice controlled but urgent, cracks showing in perfect facade. Whatever you're planning. Don't! Amara stops recording. Thumb hovering over screen, decision suspended in amber of almost. The phone stays in her hand, evidence and testimony and power she's never held before. He was at that shelter for 3 years, Mi-suk continues, stepping closer. Heels clicking against tile and rhythm that sounds like countdown, like heartbeat, like time running out for both of them. 3 years, 2 kilometers from here. He knew where you were. He could have shown up, created a scene, embarrassed you, us, everyone. But he didn't. Do you know why? She steps closer, her expression almost gentle. The mask slipping to reveal something underneath that might be genuine emotion or might be better acting. Impossible to tell after years of performance. Because I visited him. Once a year, brought him photos of you. Graduation, first day of work, birthdays. I told him you were happy, successful, that you had a future here, that showing up would destroy that. He loved you enough to stay away, Amara. Don't make his sacrifice meaningless by destroying everything now. The words are designed to hurt, to manipulate, to turn love into weapon and sacrifice into silence. And they work. Her chest tightens, breath catches. Tears threaten behind eyes she's kept dry for 23 years. Mi-suk extends papers, clean white official stamps, her name in perfect calligraphy, everything legal and final and possible. Sign the papers, Mi-suk says, offering them like gift, like salvation, like noose, disguised as necklace. Become who you were meant to be. Hanamara, fully, finally. This is the last time I offer this. You made him believe staying away was love. It was love. For you. For your future. You turned his love into exile. And now you can honor that sacrifice. Or waste it. Pause. Papers extended. Final offer. Choose. Furnace reaches temperature. Loud beep. Mechanical voice announcing readiness. Time collapsing into now, into this moment, into choice that can't be unmade. Mi-suk extends papers. Amara doesn't reach, and between them the space fills with everything unsaid, everything that's about to be spoken, everything that will never be the same after the next 60 seconds. Family is what we protect, she said. The crematorium technician appears in the doorway. Young, tired, just doing his job, unaware he's walking into origin point of everything that comes after. We're ready. Time to proceed. Amara looks at the body, sheet-covered, still, waiting. Then, at Mi-suk, perfectly composed, papers extended, offering everything and nothing. Then, at her phone, screen still lit, recording stopped, evidence waiting. Fire glow. From furnace competes with dawn light from windows. 2 types of illumination fighting for dominance, for meaning, for her. The citizenship papers lie on the table. Everything she's wanted. Everything she's worked for. 23 years of making herself small enough to fit in spaces that were never meant to hold her. Shoulders hunched, voice quiet, needs invisible, self-compressed into acceptable shape. Her thumb hovers over the voice memo. 1 tap to delete, 1 tap to share. 1 motion that rewrites her entire life. Security footsteps echo in the hallway. Hard shoes on tile, authority approaching. Is the cremation complete? They're asking. Jaemin's voice calls from somewhere, carrying casual urgency, the tone of someone managing crisis like paperwork. Amara takes 1 step toward the crematorium door, body moving before mind decides, muscle memory of compliance, years of training pulling her towards safety, towards silence, towards survival. Then stops, feet plant, spine straightens. Something shifts. Daniel appears at the far end of the hall, breathless, documents in hand, witness to whatever comes next. Their eyes meet across distance, his expression hopeful, terrified, supportive, helpless. He can't make this choice for her. No one can. The furnace door is open, waiting, flames visible inside. Orange, white-hot, hungry, ready to consume and transform and erase. Heat radiates, making the air shimmer, making reality negotiable. Misuk's hand reaches for Amara's phone. Maternal gesture, protective movement, attempt to save her from herself. Give it to me, please. Ma'am, we need to proceed now. Amara, give me the phone. No. Single syllable. Quiet, absolute. World shifts on that word. You're making a terrible mistake. I know. Amara's finger hovers over Cher, trembling, steadying, deciding. But it's mine. Footsteps. Voices. Sirens outside. Authorities arriving. Journalists somehow already present. Daniel's network faster than she imagined. Everything converges on this moment, this room, this choice. Her finger moves. She opened her mouth. Amara taps Cher. Single motion, irreversible, world-ending and world-creating. The voice memo uploads in seconds that feel like hours. Progress bar filling. 15 minutes of testimony spreading to 3 journalists, 2 migrant rights organizations, Daniel's advocacy network. Names, documents, evidence. Truth transmitted at speed of light. Impossible to recall, permanent as anything digital can be. My father's name was Joseph Kamau Ochieng, she says aloud, voice carrying across prep room, into hallway, toward approaching authorities. No longer whispering, no longer apologizing, no longer performing gratitude for spaces she was never meant to occupy. He died 4 days ago, and you will not erase him. She hands Daniel the phone with the uploaded proof. Evidence preserved, duplicated, impossible to destroy now. Then turns to the immigration officials entering the hall, flashlight beams cutting through morning dimness, official voices demanding explanation. I'm Hanamara Jun. I'm this facility's prep assistant. The body in that room is my father, and I'm formally requesting investigation into his death and deportation history before any cremation occurs. The room erupts. Chaos, like explosion, like rupture, like truth finally taking up all the space it deserves. Misuk's face goes pale, blood draining visible, even through makeup. Composure shattering into fragments of shock and rage, and something that might be fear. Jamin backs away, already calculating distance, already adjusting narrative, phone in hand, documenting or deleting or managing damage. Security doesn't know who to restrain, her, them, everyone, the situation itself. Cameras appear. Journalists somehow already here. Daniel's network faster than family connections. Truth traveling faster than suppression. Questions fly like projectiles. Microphones extend like weapons, like salvation, like the opposite of silence. Misuk tries to speak, but her voice is drowned out by dozens of others. Authority dissolved in crowd, control impossible when everyone is watching. Everything she built collapses in real time. Not slowly, not gradually, but instant demolition of 23 years of careful construction. The citizenship papers remain unsigned on the table, edges curling slightly in heat from crematorium. Promise withdrawn, offer expired. Her room above the funeral home will be emptied by tonight. Belongings in boxes by the door. Her name erased from rosters as efficiently as her father's was. Her name will be removed from family records, scratched out with same bureaucratic precision that destroyed him. Symmetry of erasure. But his name, Joseph Kamau Ochieng, beloved, erased, finally spoken, spreads across Seoul in news alerts and social media posts and advocacy group statements. Hashtags form. Articles write themselves. His face from that 1997 passport photo circulates. Pixels carrying his image further than he ever traveled. Digital resurrection of person made invisible. She didn't save him. She can't bring him back or give him the 23 years they lost. Can't undo exile or restore what was stolen or make bureaucracy apologize. Death is still death. Permanent and absolute. But she gave him something they tried to take. something that survives fire and silence and shame, something that matters when everything else is ash. Ms. Han, are you alleging systematic erasure? I'm stating facts. My father's name, his death, their lies. This is a private family matter. It stopped being private when you made it policy. Overlapping voices fade to single heartbeat, hers, steady, surviving. She stands still while everything swirls around her, body at rest for first time in 23 years. No longer running, no longer shrinking, no longer performing belonging she had to earn by erasing herself. She didn't save him, but she saved his name. The crematorium door closes, unopened. Furnace still hungry but unfed, flames consuming nothing but themselves. Through the window, Soul wakes to a story about names that refuse to stay buried, truth that survives silence, love that outlasts erasure. Amara walks out of the funeral home for the last time, carrying nothing but her phone and the truth. Lightweight, unbearable weight, weight that sets her free. Behind her, the building that taught her to be invisible, that trained her in silence, that promised belonging in exchange for self-erasure. Shadows lengthen as sun rises, building becoming smaller in her vision, receding into past tense. Ahead, a city that finally knows her father's name. Soul indifferent and enormous, millions of people who will scroll past his story, but some will stop, some will remember. Some will speak other names that deserve speaking. Digital memorials spreading like light, like evidence, like the opposite of forgetting. She doesn't know where she's going. She has no family that will claim her, no job that will keep her, no citizenship papers that will legitimize her. She has nothing except truth and phone and body that finally feels like hers. It's enough. It has to be. It has to,